Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar. We are delighted to have Riduan Zalani, who is a well-known musician, artist in the Singapore context, but also globally. I'm Charlene Rajendran, and I will be moderating this interview, but more importantly, having a conversation with Riduan and hoping to hear his stories, his perspectives, and why he makes music the way he does. So I'll begin with a brief introduction to Riduan. To many of you, he probably needs no introduction at all. But in case you don't already know, Riduan is a versatile percussionist with a very keen interest in developing Southeast Asian ethnic drumming in contemporary settings, but he is also keen on spotlighting Asian musical traditions on the global and the local stage. He calls himself an idealist at heart, and we'll ask him why in a while. And he says that he takes his dreams to the spotlight through his creative vision, while serving his community of musicians and hoping to bring their level of virtuosity higher and higher in the local and the global stage. He's a multi-award-winning performer. He's performed in numerous local and international programs, festivals, stages, had residencies in various parts of the world, including Europe, Asia, the Americas, and Oceania. He is also the winner of the prestigious National Arts Council's Young Artist Award in 2015. So welcome, Riduan.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us and for being willing to talk to us. I want to start by asking you how you became a musician.
Wow. First and foremost, of course, thank you for such a warm introduction. I rarely listen to such a welcoming start. Thank you.
Thank you.
How I became a musician, I think it's, of course, I believe in the grace of God, the plans, His master plan. But moreover, a human doesn't know what he doesn't know. And I think when I got to know about music, it attracted me to it. It pulled me over. Most importantly, the drums, the spirit, the sound. And from then on, because I embrace what I believe that brings me joy, happiness, a reason to live, it gives me an opportunity to witness the world in a different view, different lens. And since then, I think I do not regard myself, music, as a hobby or a passion, but it's a way of life. Everything around it. So I cannot tell you when I became a musician, because I think the day I was born, I had that pulse. Due to various different happenings in my life, the drums pull me, and yeah, the rest is history. And every day of it, I'm just living in full gratitude. I'm just very blessed to be living in our city-state island, discovering the laps and the gaps and trying to pull them together so that it is strong and we have something to look forward to tomorrow. Yeah.
When you say music's a way of life, and you were pulled by the spirit of the drums, what does that mean?
What is music? It is sound. What is sound? It is an energy. You can't touch, you can't see, but you can feel. And I think that is what I'm referring to. The diametric difference between each of the sound you hear, it has a role and a function. A low rumble, a high shrill, the sound of chickens, the sound of traffic, the specific bell from the MRT. It depicts a certain situation, a certain feeling. And for me, all of these are the factors that made me very, very excited, interested, and I feel that I want to invest time into uncovering, unpacking, and rediscovering each day. And I acknowledge myself as a young Malay boy who grew up in Clementi, Woodlands. But I work in Esplanade, in the town area. I have performance everywhere. around the world, and every time, every place, then I realized that everywhere is different, but it is the same. So I draw all this, I identify all these dots and find ways to be inspired from them, be one with nature, be one with the surrounding, and then it will direct me to my next step. Usually that's...
So this environment of sound that is a mixture of what is conventionally classified as music and everyday sounds, right?
Yes.
You've mentioned
Yeah.
the chickens to the MRT bell, as well as, I guess, the sound of the drums that is an instrument that draws you in a particular way. What's the difference then between sound and music?
I guess if you... Sound is just random things that's happening, but music is when you arrange it in a particular manner, in a particular pattern or phrase that evokes a different kind of feeling or a specific feeling. I think, and music differs from each era, each generation, each place of origin. And to me, as also a creator, as a composer, arranger, I also noticed that my work have changed over the years. Yeah, but all of it is important for me to reach to where I am today.
So tell us about your music, the kind of work that you've created, the kinds of shifts and changes that you've just mentioned that has brought you to the present place. How would you describe it and talk about it?
First and foremost, I was born in 1985. Why is that important? Because we still listen to cassette tapes, CD, DVD, MD, LD, and before the emergence of MP3. Why is this important? Because knowledge, skills, experiences cannot be bought or cannot be just be served on the internet. You need to go out and find this. And that is a very important part, I believe, in the development of my understanding of music and performing arts. And because of that ability or that time frame that I was born, I had the opportunity to witness certain things firsthand, such as the grandmaster of a particular musical style that doesn't leave his kampung, right? And the only way you can actually witness his art is by going to his home, witnessing how he acts, how he practices craft, and how also at that point of time I believe that nobody is learning from him. What is happening? So because of this early realization, it becomes a part of me. And of course my creation, I started off as a traditional Malay performer. And when I say a performer, it encapsulates everything. You know, like how opera is. If you're an opera performer, high chances you have to dance, you have to sing, you have to play music, you have to read scripts, and you have to entertain. The most important thing is the idea of a stage is to give entertainment to humans, to fellow beings. But time have changed because after so many things, it just dissipates and it becomes specialized. If you're an actor, you're an actor. You're a singer, a singer. You know, so that kind of that's where I come from.
Yeah.
But this specialization is good because it gives birth to specific people with specific interest or strength. In the area of music, these days, it's a one-man thing. You are the lyricist, you're also the guitarist, and then you produce yourself, you sing, and then you find ways to make yourself heard. But in the past, you have producers who actually know your potential, and he will pair you with specific people who can uplift you to the next level. And in an album of 11 songs, it doesn't come from one composer. It can come from the best 7 or 8 composers who will be able to, you know, really extend your fullest potential, maximize your fullest potential. And for me, these are very important things that I got to witness. Because nowadays, companies do not do this anymore. The artist is on his own.
Right.
So my work kind of shifts like that as well. As a traditional Malay performer, I needed to learn how to move, how to sing, how to play. But because I have a strong relationship with the drums, when I was young, I stole the drum and I brought it home. And nobody said anything because nobody knows that I brought it home. But when I got the opportunity to perform, they were surprised. Hey, he can play. So when he can play, then that was my uncle, Imran Ahmad. He realized that, hey, must give him more opportunity to play.
Okay.
So as I played, and then I got a chance to play kumpang, hadra, gamelan, a bit of angklung, a bit of everything. Because it's a performing troupe. So you just do bits of everything. Only when I left secondary school, then at that point of time, I don't know, maybe it was Sting Desert Rose. The darbuka was famous.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And it's a cheaper drum.
Yeah.
It's like $110 or something like that. So I bought, and then, wow, world drums is also exciting.
Yeah.
So apart from the Malay drums, I started to pick up different drums. So it started from Arabic, Middle Eastern, and then we move on to Latin America, South America, and then Oriental drums, and then the list goes on. Even Indian, North Indian and South Indian, Carnatic and Hindustani. And then as I go forward, I become like very excited. All the time I spend is just unpacking the different combinations of finger movement. So then I realized that, wow, there's so much thing to learn. That's when I began to have a very, I think, healthy approach in which before you go to rehearsal, there is practice. There is training and practice and then rehearsal. So I began to understand all these layers that is involved in becoming a performer. Soon enough, I started to really get a lot of attention outside of the Malay music world. And I began to busk on the streets with the band called Wikadora. They are an amazing band because they were the first buskers in Singapore that made busking cool. We literally stopped Orchard Road every time we play, 2004, 2005 onwards. And that was important because it made me a street performer. Before this, I was a void deck musician or an events musician. And at this point of time, creating works was not really a thing, like creating a composition or arrangement. You basically just appear and serve the music, right? But when I joined Wikadora, it was by accident. It landed me on my first international gig outside of the Malay percussion. And I was playing in Womet, Reading, in UK. And that was one of the most beautiful experiences that I have because in front of me, more than 200-300 people was rooting for us, cheering for us, playing at that small stage. But as we play, the crowd grew bigger and bigger, to a point that I can't say it. The best part was it started to rain. The crowd didn't move.
Wow. So
it was a very beautiful sight for me as a 19-year-old or something like that. 19, I think.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Jadi. And because in World of Music and Dance Festival Womet, it is a festival where they celebrate world music. So you can be a guy from Trinidad Tobago or a guy from Ukraine or Australia, everywhere, just sharing their music. Then I realized that actually anybody can do something that is representative of what they believe and they love. And that's when I toy with the idea of returning back to the Malay music and forming something that I really believe in. So, yes, the growth, the different phases. So after that, I totally drop off all my non-Malay practice. And I committed into the band called NIE Singapura, which is the ensemble that I curated and formed.
So when was NIE formed?
2011.
Okay, and when you decided to call it NIE Singapura,
Yeah.
why NIE?
The pulse of Singapore. Because it needs to be rooted, staying humble, but idealistic. The young must dream.
Yes.
The young must have a place where he venture, make mistake, fall, come up, fly again. And I'm a true believer in that. I do not have the formula, but because of the experiences I have, and I notice my counterparts in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in Brunei, they have the luxury of having arts institutions to make sure the gatekeepers of traditional music is always there. All the grandmasters, all the masters, all the apprentices are there to make sure that wayang kulit or gamelan or angklung remains intact. But Singapore, we don't. But I can't force anyone to undertake this responsibility because it is a lot of money, a lot of commitment, a lot of work, a lot of expertise. We do not have any of that. So I decided to go the other way around. I formed the most edgy band to create attention. And at the same time, I run for refinement. I make sure all of the ensemble cast members is well attuned to the layers that is involved in arts creation, in music composition, in arrangement, in production, and then from then on, slowly, I will find people who really want to be in this to help me build something that is meaningful.
So you're interested in making sure that there's quality to their skills and their artistry and their craft.
And depth in their thoughts.
And depth in their thoughts, which I really appreciate.
Yes.
And yet you want it to be edgy.
Yes.
And I want you to talk about what it takes and what it means for the work to be edgy as well.
Real, raw, and rugged.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Polish is good, of course. Of course, everybody wants to be prim and proper. But it's when you see the loose ends, you see that scruffiness. And for me, that's real. We had it hard here in Singapore. It's not easy. No city in the world wakes up at 4:30 or 5:30 and starts working till the end of the day, and even in his sleep, he's still working. I hate this, but it is the truth. Because I've been leading like this. Not only am I a performer, but I'm also a teacher.
Yeah.
I'm also a sessionist, arranger, composer. I'm also a father and a son. And I'm Muslim. All of this, bills to pay, everything. But I find it beautiful. That's why someone who's born in Cuba, 1985, you will not get someone like me. Because our life is different.
Quite different.
Different.
And when you think about these experiences that were formative, you talk about listening to the cassette, you talk about the live performance in which you have to entertain, in which bringing people into the music becomes important, such that the thrill of that WOMAD moment where you see a crowd growing
and they don't judge. They're just there to receive and then let the body react to whatever that's listening.
Thank you for bringing that in, because I was going to ask you about the body. In terms of just this feeling of a body of music and a body of musicians, because you've brought together an ensemble. You decided not to make a solo company, but bring together a group of people. In a way, you're saying that the music demands this ensemble, this community, this group, people who are willing to work together. So there's that kind of body of it. And then there's the physical body. Watching your performances, your body is very involved. It's animated, it's alive, it's moving, it's sensing what's going on. So, and linking it back to Nadi, you know, which is about the body and the pulse. Talk about that.
Wow. A lot of the works that I produce with NIE Singapura is based on the proverbs and the wisdom of the Malay community. Bersatu teguh, bercerai roboh. Together, united we stand, divided we fall. Ikut resmi padi, makin tunduk makin berisi. Follow the life of a paddy. The lower you are, the more humble you become. And the list goes on. Hujan emas di negeri orang, hujan batu di negeri sendiri. Lebih baik negeri sendiri. It may be raining gold there, but it's better here. Di mana bumi ku pijak, di situ langit ku junjung. Wherever my feet lands, that's where the sky I uphold. All of this are the reason why I formed Nadi Singapura. Real, raw and rugged. The relationship between human and nature. Never separated. Even though in a city, urban state like us, I choose to make sure that this still exists. In a format, in a manner that is different. Because I wear Converse, I wear jeans. I no longer fish for living, but I still wear semuta on my head. It represents the working class, the people who are responsible for the economy of the of the state, of the land, because we believe in the land. And all of this is the reason why Nadi is formed. And I didn't put like Sri Nadi or I didn't want to pigeonhole us in a place where it's, I don't know. I want it to be neutral, the pulse of Singapore, because it is evolving. It depends on the body itself. Like at the start, I said human doesn't know what he doesn't know unless he come across it. Then he starts to believe. He built hope, and then he leads. So a lot of why certain things happen is because of that. And one of my mechanism, or one of the medium of choice that I choose, is to challenge each of the cast member. You are a percussionist, you are a performer. I put you with a drum, you feel empowered. But what if I take that away from you? Can you still entertain? Can you still present something that is close to you, that is representative of you as a Malay Muslim in Singapore? I challenge that as well. So
what
that's
happened
where
when you did that?
Yeah, so the body is a place where, you know, it's really it's your imagination. So with the work in Nadi Singapore, it's also an imagination. The work with Malay music in Singapore, it's also an imagination. It's hopes, it's dreams, all coming together. And after 12 years, Nadi is still together. I have 2 generations of performers. 80 of them in total. We live, we have a simple home in Aliwal Art Center. 7 days a week, I'm there, 6.5 days there. Yeah, I dedicate my life there. I teach everything and anything that I know under the umbrella of performing arts, under the umbrella of production. And the body again, we go back to all the Malay movement. Silat, zapin, joget. Because tuturan sifat dan sikap orang Melayu, cara the function, the role, the poses. You cannot take that and put it in another body. Although you can, but why not you who have that blood running on you, try. You can play drums, but if you can stand like a silat, it kind of extends it. Yeah. So this is the theme that I try and create something. So now drummers who are dancers, zapin. So it's not done anywhere. I can tell you that. I guess that's what being Singaporean also.
Yeah, I think that's what being willing to be contemporary without feeling a sense of having to homogenize everything as well. And work with different people, I guess. Do you work with choreographers as well when they come in to teach?
I have, for specific work, last year we were commissioned by SIFA to be part of the show Ceremonial Enactments, and I was directing our show. I call it 293 Degrees Northwest. And in 293 Degrees Northwest, I work with Hafiz Hassan, which is an incredible contemporary dancer who specializes in street dancing, hip hop and and he's always involved in musicals in Singapore. So he have always wanted to work with Nadi because he wanted to see where he can bring us. And of course, myself too. Like if there's an opportunity, I would love for a silat master, choreographer with a street dancer, and I will do the music, the piece both. To find the center way. And I think what we presented in SIFA is a beautiful start. And we both believe that if we spend more time developing it, we might have something that is truly unique and worthy of the eyes of the world. I think. Yeah. So these are the things that we were only able to do because I think SIFA knocked on our door.
Okay.
Natalie was nice enough.
Yeah.
Riduan, I think Nadi should come forward. You should be in front and do. Okay, because it's post-COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody was still masked.
Yeah.
So I did everything in like a very short period of time,
Yeah.
and then get the team together, immediately start rehearsal, and we were working with some of the most established in Singapore. Brian Gotong was there. And I think it opens up the understanding of the cast that there is a support system outside from our people that we work with that are ready to bring us to the next level. So that's where I can tell the cast, don't stop practicing, believing, creating, learning, because the day will come where, everything is there. The last parcel is you being ready to walk that road. So all these years I've been just preparing everybody for the big battle, I guess. Yeah.
And actually, that's an important part of the work, right? Preparing, training, teaching, educating in the wider sense, but also the musical skills that are involved.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your teaching and how it is you work as a teacher. You learned from specific people, you watched and imbibed, but what's your teaching like?
I think one of the most important key things that I make sure I am is I lead by example, and I've always told everybody the spirit of being openness, selfless is very important. It's embedded in the musical practice. For example, if you look at the traditional Malay drummers, it is not said, but it is known among the drummers that you have a role to play. If you play the first drum, ibu, or play the second drum, anak. And like the name suggests, the mother and the child. The mother guides, the child follows. But the child is able to have fun around the mother. So when you play, it is like that. So in order for you to not just play well, you need to also understand the role that you play in the music itself. And for me, a lot of my teaching is about making them discover this way of looking at things, which makes it fun. It opens up a new world, not just ting tak bang ting tak bang ting tak bang 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 ding dang ding 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 dang tak ding bang tak ding bang ding dang ding. Then they realize, oh, tak ding bang ding. And then if the same rhythm is being divided into 3, so some of the other rhythmic construct of a kompang ensemble or hadra ensemble that follows, in the whole Nusantara, they have their own specific breakdown. But the most important thing is to understand what is the relationship between pattern A to pattern B to pattern C to D all the way to 15 or 12. It's because you need to have that understanding. Oh, this is the way the Malay community music have evolved. A rhythm like dun 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 dun. This is the rhythm typically played in a wedding. If you have 3 people, this is how you play. But if you have 5 people, you play like this. But if you have 50 people, how do you play? But most of the time, I try to make the cast ensemble, they themselves realize, oh, like that. And then without any papers, without any writings, they are able to absorb that, and then it becomes second nature. So usually my teaching, I try to make people not depend on papers, instead of believe in yourself that the most important thing when you enter a space is the word understand. If you understand it, no matter what situation you may be, you are able to recreate that same based on your understanding.
So it sounds like understanding with depth, as
Yeah.
you say, the culture, the social space, right? The role,
Yeah.
to use your word. But also to understand in a very embodied way. If you want to discard the paper, which is hugely, often a security blanket,
Yes,
right, to
it
have
is.
the paper. I've got my paper here as an
Yeah.
example. But also I think there's a sense in which then your body holds the script, your body holds the score.
The vocabulary, everything.
It's
Yeah.
inside you and
Yeah.
you draw
Draw
on
it.
that to work. But also your connections with the people you're with,
Yes.
right? Because you're feeding off each other. And in an increasingly individualized, atomized society, this is important work in my view. And I wonder what the challenges are for you to make that happen and to engage people in trusting this is doable. In fact, this is desirable.
I will respond from Nadi Singapore's point of view. It's always difficult to convince people of something they don't know. A group like Nadi never existed before. It's very hard. It's always hard. But in saying hard, there's always joy in the road that is less traveled. And it reveals many discoveries. And for me, I choose to always not think about the hard. I always think about being grateful about, okay, it's okay, we can do it. A production budget of 20,000, I will make it happen. If you tell me I have 3,000, I can. Of course, at some point of time, we will have to say no. But that's also a way of me developing myself under that circumstances that it is so difficult in Singapore. Rent is very expensive. The area that we have is just 1/3 of this space, housing 80 musicians who dance and drum and sing.
Yeah.
And because I can't put everybody in one session,
Yeah.
I have to divide into 3 sessions, and I have to be present in all 3 sessions, which I could come only one session with 80. So the sacrifices I make is, I think, it also develops me. Of course, philanthropy in Malay performing arts and music is very, very little, very small. These are the areas that I wish to be of assistance and to making people realize that you can actually do art for a living, and you could also get people to help realize that arts just bring a lot of good things. It develops your character, it provides entertainment. Apart from entertainment, it gives a chance for a community to serve, to be served and to serve. I think that's the main problem about that I come across over the years. Philanthropy is a question. Other than that, having specialized individuals who are able to serve for the big picture is also, there are very little players around. Other than that, I think at the end of the day, that's why I choose not to talk about all this. Okay, myself, I don't really choose to talk about all these issues, but I only focus on one thing. Do good, speak good, think good. Just if you are good.
So it's a philosophy of life, like you said.
Yeah.
Music is a way of life. And I wonder what's the story you really want to tell when you're making work? Is there something that inspires, drives, when you're creating, composing, when you're, devising? What's driving it?
Courage, bravery. I feel the next show that I'm writing is called Berani. Berani is
no wonder.
courageous,
Okay.
and it's a new percussive play that I'm devising right now, where I challenge the individual or the cast themselves that, like I say, if I strip the drum from you, can you still be a good performer? Yes, you can. But I'm asking you, can you sound Malay without having to wear songkok, samping, tanja and everything? Can you still make me feel that you, and yeah, I am unpacked it this year. So in Berani itself, it talked about being courageous. But what does courageous mean? It just doesn't mean that you just have to be brave, but you need to have all the other supporting values in order for you to be brave. You need to be patient, you need to be open, you need to be selfless, you need to have fear in order for you to be brave. And I designed the show in a way that there's always a scene that we be storytellers and we create percussive music to depict the whole idea about being brave is not just about being brave, but the rest, being kind, being forgiving. So wearing the hijab in a modern society, it's brave. So, but how do I do it in a percussion show? So that's what I for now, that's what and it is from a show that I produced many years ago. It's called Kampung Berani, Journey of the Pulse 2. I talk about Kampung Berani, which is a dreamlike state where a village of courageous men coming forward to share people about their culture, their roots. Kami di Kampung Berani, langkah kanan, langkah kiri. As a young man, I always believe, I was always taught to start with the right.
Okay.
Everything is the right. You eat with your right. You shake your hand with your right. You do, because it invites good things. So langkah kanan, langkah kiri. Tulus, ikhlas, dedikasi. Be true, be sincere, and dedicate yourself. Pupuk cinta dalam nurani. You develop love from your heart. Pendekar, nelayan, petani. Whether you're a warrior, whether you're a fisherman, whether you're a farmer, or dan juga yang ada di warung kopi. Even if you just sit in the coffee shop. Teguh, maju, sama, harmoni. You are strong. You love peace. Langkah kanan, langkah kiri. So let's take the right and then the left. So based on that show, I brought forward in this new show called Berani. I just wanted to explore. I strip all of you out, and I want to see whether we can still yeah. So I want to build a safe, fun, peaceful environment where musicians and performing artists can just use their heritage, explore ways to keep it relevant, to keep it fresh, to keep it, because you will agree with me, an artist that is born in Bangladesh or in India cannot recreate a work that is from someone who is born in Australia or New Zealand, cannot. So what is the work of a 2023 Malay guy in Singapore who loves his tradition?
And yet you've done so much research to find out what that is.
Yeah.
The research of your life experience, travel, engaging with other people,
Interaction.
explore, experiment, interaction, and then think and dig. I mean, from what you're saying, there's a lot of digging going on, right? To dig into these values, these peribahasas, these ways of symbolically understanding a way of life, but also finding its relevance to today. Now, this research is really important, although you may not call it research. Certainly for me, the digging is part of it. How do you go about making sure that you have time, space, energy? Like you said, you are father, son, leader, musician, composer.
I do things that excite me. And I always share with people, like, we are not here by coincidence. It was designed for us to have this exchange. And in this exchange, we must be open to know that you might have something for me and I might have something for you. So every day in my life, I treat it like that. I'm friends with the cleaner. I'm friends with the auntie who cook putu piring or the roti prata man. And we have good conversation. These are my drivers. And most importantly, my students. Those who come, those who don't come and tell me in advance. Those who don't come and just tell me 5 minutes before the rehearsal. These are the people that gives me different reason for me to continue in this pursuit. But what remains intact is right from the start, why am I doing this? I'm not here to prove anyone. Bukan harta atau nama. Not for riches or not for the name. Because I really think there's nobody doing it. And if we don't do it, I fear that when I was growing up, I got lost. And I was trying to do so many things. But now and then I found, okay, but life is about that. I think it's about, if I didn't know what it's like then, I would not have become. And because of the interaction, because of your constant asking, and of course, because I have a good partner who's very open and understanding. My wife is incredible. My mother is, they are the greatest. I pray for them the best. But they are really a part of this. If not, so a lot of my work, I always tell people, there are two things that bind me to believing in the work. One is rasa. You cannot fake feeling. If it feels good, it feels good. You can choose not to like it, but don't anti it. You don't anti it. But if the feeling is good, then it is. So the main guiding for me about feeling is I always imagine the ancient people, how they will perceive
what's happening today.
Every workpiece that I do, I always think about. If I were to ask somebody to, and then move, what would be something that they would accept, or they would say, good, carry on, or what would they change to alter to make it feels? I feel like purba, orang purba, Melayu purba, Melayu kuno, all this. I think.
So it's a kind of moving back and moving forward.
Always constant.
This dance between different parts of time in a very rooted sense of space at the same time, drawing from, as you said, different parts of the world, but you come back to this idea that you are a Malay man born in Singapore and this is your space.
Because we don't have farms. We don't grow up with cows and sheep, and we romanticize or we sensationalize the idea. Once in a while, I go back to certain place, which I don't have any kampung, by the way. Also, that's one of the secret that people might not know. I do not have a kampung. I am true born. My father is India. Grandmother is Chinese. My father's side is Javanese and Malay. So I have, I have
Nusantara.
Nusantara, seantero Nusantara. That's so I question. Then what am I? I don't. So I'm here to build. And I think with Nadi Singapore, a lot of my questions are answered. A lot of my digging have been responded. I see a lot of my students taking it to the next level of specialization. But it's not for me, if you ask me. So why do you do all this? What drives you? I know it's not for me, but it is for me. It is not for me, but it is for me. for me to go through this. Yeah.
Thank you, Riduan. I think on that note, it's for you and it's not for you. It's certainly been for us. A huge pleasure to hear you think and to feel you engage with this pulse that is ongoing
Living,
and is
living.
still living as well as playing.
Yeah, it
I
is.
think there's a huge, wonderful sense of play that goes on in the interaction and, of course, in the joy of making music and sharing this music. So we wish you well for Brani,
Hey, thank you.
and I look forward to the performance.
Yes, I hope you guys can spare some time and join us in
Yeah.
the
Certainly would
performance.
love to.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Riduan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you very much.